Phone this morning. Mr. Trump, thank you for joining us this morning. You just heard Dr. Carson respond to your tweets from earlier in the week. Your response to Dr. Carson?
Well, look, I hope it all works out for him. It's a strange situation, though, when you talk about hitting your mother on the head with a hammer and hitting your friend in the face with a lock, with a padlock, and when you talk about stabbing somebody, but the knife saved him, when the belt buckle saved him. I mean, it's a weird deal going on, and I hope it all works out because I don't want to see Ben have problems over this stuff, and, it's a very strange situation. I guess a book was written, I don't know where this all came from, but a book was written before he ran for politics, but he said he has pathological disease in the book. When you have pathological disease, that's a very serious problem because that's not something that's cured. That's something that you have to live with, and that's a very serious thing to have to live with.
But in the past, you've admitted to inflating the value of your properties, and in your book, The Art of the Deal, you wrote, "A little hyperbole never hurts." Is that what Carson's doing here, or is it really something more serious?
I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I don't know. I can say that I never tried to hit my mother in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, my properties are some of the most valuable properties in the world, George. You know some of them, and I have some of the great properties of the world. I built an amazing company with a tremendous net worth, and whether it's $5 billion or $12 billion or $10 billion, everybody agrees it's magnificent, and so I don't know what you're talking about.
If Ben Carson falls, where do the votes go? Is he your top rival right now?
Well, it seems, I mean, you know who's number one. I'm number one, and he's number two. So I would say that the person that's number two is my top rival. And in all fairness to Ben, he's been the closest. With all these politicians that are running, Ben has been the closest to, I've been there for, I guess, 110 days or something, and he's really been up there and the closest, and he's hung around. As they say in sports, he's just hanging around. But so let's see. And I hope this works out for him, frankly. I hope there is not going to be a problem in this, but it's a lot of statements that are very troubling statements. I mean, and for him, too. He understands that.
Let's turn to ISIS. More evidence that this plane was brought down, this Russian plane was brought down by some kind of an explosion. Do you believe ISIS was behind it, and what should the United States do about it?
Well, I think it was an explosion. I can't be sure that it was ISIS. There's so many different groups over there. You got a lot of crazy groups, and you can't be sure it was ISIS. But we're going to have to do something very strong over there. The world is really going to be cratering. If you stop transportation, I mean, you're talking about the blood. This is the blood of the world. And we're going to have to be very, very strong. We're going to have to take away the energy, the fuel, the money from ISIS because in the case of ISIS, I've been saying this for years, we have to stop the source of money, and the source of money is oil, and we have to knock the hell out of the oil, and we're going to have to do it because ISIS is making a fortune. They have better access to internet than we do. I mean, they're recruiting people from our country, and who knows what they're planning. So we better do something. We better be smart. We better do it right now. And don't forget, I'm the one that wrote about Osama bin Laden in my book before the World Trade Center was knocked down. And a lot of people are saying, wow, Trump actually predicted that. But I was writing about Osama bin Laden before the World Trade Center came down.
You'd step up the campaign against ISIS even though you believe that Vladimir Putin is getting stuck in a quagmire by going in?
Well, I'm not looking to quagmire. I'm looking to take the oil. I want to take the oil. I want the oil. And I've been saying that for a long time. The Middle East is one big fat quagmire. Whether it's Afghanistan, where, frankly, Putin, if you look at the Soviet Union, it used to be the Soviet Union. They essentially went bust, and it became Russia, a much smaller version. Because of Afghanistan, they spent all their money. Now they're going into Syria. I'm all for Russia going in and knocking and dropping bombs on ISIS. As far as I'm concerned, we don't have to have exclusivity on that. But we're going to have to do something about ISIS, and we're going to have to do something about what's going on over there. Probably it was a bomb, and probably it was planted by one of the groups over there, whether it's ISIS or somebody else. We're going to have to take some very, very serious action.
Let me ask you something that came up in this new biography of George H.W. Bush by John Meacham this week. He on page 326, it says, going back to the 1988 campaign, the New Yorker developer Donald Trump mentioned his availability as a vice presidential candidate to Lee Atwater. Bush thought the overture strange and unbelievable. That's what he wrote in his diary. Did you really want to be vice president of George H.W. Bush?
Well, Lee Atwater was a very good friend of mine, as you may have known. He was a great guy, and, I was a very political person for a long period of time, and I was a big contributor, and I was asked that question by Lee. He said, "What do you think about that idea?" I said, "I don't know, Lee. You can check it out if you want, but it doesn't sound right," because at that time I had no political aspirations.
So you're saying he made the overture to you?
Yes, Lee asked me about it a long time ago. That's right.
A lot of talk about addiction on the campaign trail lately, especially up in New Hampshire. And you're an absolutist on this issue. You've never used drugs, you say, no smoking, no drinking. What shaped that decision?
Well, I really, I've seen so many people over the years where they became alcoholics, and they were so tremendous, so many people, and so tremendous in every respect, and they became alcoholics, or they started taking drugs, and they became, in a way, addicted. And I've watched it, and just by watching what happens to people, and I never drank, and I never took drugs, and I don't smoke. I mean, I'm lucky in that respect. And I have friends trying not to smoke, as an example. Let's say that's the lesser of the three, but still it's a problem. I don't understand, why would they smoke? Why would they drink? Why would they take drugs? The way you don't understand it is if you don't do it. And I always tell my kids, don't drink, don't smoke. Who knows? I think they don't. But who really knows what's going on? But it's a tremendous problem. And, in New Hampshire, I've developed such great friendships in New Hampshire. They are having a tremendous drug problem, a tremendous heroin problem in New Hampshire. And a lot of that comes in through the southern border, which I will stop because I'm putting up a wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. It will be built. And if you look at the kind of numbers we do with Mexico, they are making a fortune off the United States. And we will stop that problem to a large extent. But the heroin problem in New Hampshire and other places is massive.
But, we
have to stop the source.
You used to think that legalization, taking the profit out, would solve that problem. What changed your mind?
Well, I did, and I not think about it. I said it's something that should be studied and maybe should continue to be studied, but it's not something I'd be willing to do right now. I think it's something that I've always said maybe it has to be looked at because we do such a poor job of policing. We don't want to build walls. We don't want to do anything. And if you're not going to want to do the policing, you're going to have to start thinking about other alternatives. But it's not something that I would want to do. But it's something that certainly has been looked at, and I looked at it. If we police properly, we shouldn't do that.
As you point out, you're going to be front and center of the debate Tuesday night. What do you expect?
Well, I think it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be questions. I think there'll be fair questions. It's a good group of people. Neil Cavuto's a great guy, and the whole group, and Maria's terrific. And I think it'll be very fair questions, unlike the catastrophe of the last deal.
Donald Trump, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.